think so.
Yes. Live.
Woohoo.
Live. Welcome, everybody. It's Monday Night Live.
Scoot over.
I will scoot over this way.
Such a camera hog, Gene. Just give me a little piece.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm Dean Nixon, Kate Simmons, TurningLeaf Health and Wellness in sunny St. George, Utah. We are stoked to be with you. We're excited to be with you tonight.
Do you guys love how every Monday you actually get a little bit of a weather update about what's happening in St. George? Because it is not sunny today.
It isn't sunny. I have my flannel on. That's it. It's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold, but it's not bad. It's not as cold, so.
All I want to do is sit in my bed with my cats, reading a book, and eating oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. That's all I want to do today.
That's not a bad idea.
Yep.
Well, we are excited to join you tonight, this Monday night, and to, as always, jump into our topic. But as prepping for that, we are super stoked to talk about some of the things that have been going on, some of the things that are coming up.
Yes, absolutely. I really want to tell people about our meditation group that we've been doing. We started it just after the first of the year. It's every Tuesday night. It goes from 7 to 8. I facilitate it, but this is actually a shout out to all of you in St. George that are into the meditation scene too. I would love to have like a monthly different person doing the meditation so we can kind of see what else different modalities and things are out there. Dean had no idea this was coming out of my mouth. I had no idea, but hey, if you're interested, get in contact with us. Let me know. We would love to showcase you once a month at our meditation group. It's super cool. We've had an amazing group of people have already started coming and participating. It's not a secret. I share with you guys all the time that I really struggle with that slow down. And so I'm really excited to be basically forced every week on Tuesday to be here at 7 p.m. to do the meditations because I love it and it's teaching me so much. So if you're interested, once again, it's every Tuesday. It's free. The meditation starts at 7:10. We give about a 10-minute buffer. And then I'll lock the door because we don't want anybody disturbing the meditation. You can still leave. It's fire code is just fine. Don't worry. But and then we're done about 7:50. Have about 10 minutes to reorient, do some journaling if you want to, talk about whatever you want to talk about, and then we move on with our week.
Yeah. Awesome. And we've got a lot of great feedback.
Oh, good.
A lot of people that are enjoying that
Mm-hmm.
and really able to ground themselves. And we know as part of the 8 coping skills, it is such an important coping skill for us to really learn how to do is to meditate and put ourselves in a state of mind that allows our body to heal, our mind to heal, and allows us, as you put, to be in the same space at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we have a hard time doing. So super stoked about that.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
So tonight's topic.
Yes, is a really good one and one that have had some very recent experience with, i.e. today had experience with it. So we were talking about, what are we going to talk about tonight? And then we came up with the topic of perspective, which is very closely linked to the coping skill of focus that we oftentimes talk about.
Right.
But I think that I guess where my heart was kind of rolling with perspective, Dean, and we can share everything that your heart was rolling with as well, is I think for me personally, I understand the concept of focus and the power in that coping skill. It really is super powerful to be able to kind of grab your own vision and focus it where you want it to go, right? Or to switch it in order to be able to, okay, I don't really want to focus on this anymore, so I am going to make the choice. Like it's a very self-empowered, motivating coping skill to be able to choose to focus on something different. I think the trick for me sometimes with perspective is I'm not always able to see a different side on my own. Like it's really difficult for me. It's easy for me to change my focus. I can do that. I can course correct. I can see that I'm getting caught up in my negative self-talk or whatever it is that I just need to kind of fix and get back on point. However, sometimes I get really caught up in my own story, if you will, and it's really difficult for me to see just those tiny little shifts that can happen that also do a lot of really amazing things for like empowering ourselves or being able to forgive ourselves and find more grace within the things that we've done. Like, I mean, I could go on and on and on about different examples for this, right? So I guess what my leading question with you today, Mr. Nixon.
All right. I figured we were going somewhere.
Of course we are. Of course. Is when it comes to perspective, what have you found is like the easiest way, to do it on your own, and looking at perspective in its own, maybe in correlation with focus, or its own separate beautiful thing that we can use.
Right.
And then how do we find those people in our life that can also offer good perspective to help us change that?
Well, and I love the topic. I love and excited for it and grateful for it. And the reason why is perspective really is the key to who we are as human beings. And perspective is one of the things that gets us in trouble the most. And we have such a hard time as a human being learning to have multiple perspectives or taking in multiple perspectives, which is truly ironic when you think about how many senses we really have.
Yeah.
So we have our 5 senses that we're always working through, which give us a lot of perspective, but the mind itself will oftentimes only take one perspective. And the human desire is to always be right. So most of our perspective is we create a belief in our heads, we create a belief about the world, and then we go out to prove it. We go out into the world working to prove our perspective, to help us feel good about the world that we've imagined in our head, rather than recognizing that there's a lot more to life than that. And the one thing that's really intriguing to me is that the more that people lose perspective, the more that we lose perspective and get caught up in our own belief, like I'm right, the world is wrong, I'm the only one right, everybody else is wrong. The more we get caught up into that thinking error, the more we start to lose who we are. We start to lose who we are and who we can be, and here's why. So the lack of perspective creates fear.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Because we fear the unknown. And so the more that we can learn, the more we can experience, and the more that we can take in, the more confident we become. And so it really is about gaining more perspective and being open to other perspectives. That's why one of the things...
I love that you said being open to it. Because oftentimes we're really resistant.
Oh my gosh. This is one of the areas that I find people really struggle with the most, is being open to perspective, open to other people's perspective. Because we somehow thinks, wow, there you go.
We do think so.
We thinks that. We somehow believe that embracing somebody else's perspective diminishes ours. Right?
Right.
And we somehow believe that the moment I embrace somebody else's perspective, I lose ground in being right. And that is such a devastating thing, especially in relationships, where we work so hard to be right. We work so hard to prove the beliefs. We work so hard to prove the things in our head to be right, that we conflict with anyone and everyone. And this is where we get so many issues in our world, is because we want to be right. Take a look at the political climate right now in our world.
Just right now?
And that whole political climate is truly all about being the right. They don't care whether what they're saying is inflammatory. They don't care if what they're saying is destroying lives. They don't care if it's inciting riots and hurt and pain in the world. The only thing they're concerned about is being right.
The agenda.
And so what happens is we work to confirm our rightness so that we can hang on to that perspective.
Yes. Isn't that interesting that in order to be able to hang on to our perspective, we go searching after another coping skill, right? Because that's just evidence gathering, which we talk about often too, right? But we're not looking at like all of the evidence, because that would be good perspective.
Absolutely.
We're looking for everything that really we want to see.
Yes.
That's going to prove our point. And I think often it's not only going to make me right, but it's going to validate what it is that I'm feeling. So I could be in a really bad place and trying to look for more validation about why that is where it should be for me, right? Like kind of that martyr status or the victim status. Sorry, we do not know what's going on with the Facebook.
It looks like the video has stopped on this side, so we're going to just kind of bear with us, everybody, as we're going to try and restart our feed. One of our feeds has stopped. But it is one of those pieces that we struggle with, and especially, now hopefully we're back. I'm going to shift this camera back over. And
center it up.
They're centered up. So sorry, those of you.
Gave you a little bit of a different perspective.
There you go. For those of
on
you
Instagram
on the Turning Leaf Wellness Center feed, we apologize for the moment, the lapse there. But as you were saying, it is about the fear of and the loss of perspective.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So we've got a really good definition established. So what do? Let's get some action points started.
Of how to focus and how to shift that focus. And one of the things that we can really work to do is get out of the right and wrong game. Get out of this, I have to be right or I will be wrong. And instead of focusing in that direction, we talk a lot about this in the seminars and workshops and in coaching. And we've got to get away from that right or wrong mentality. We've got to shift. And here's why. Because in that perspective, people are always wrong.
Yes.
People are always the problem, right? It's either I'm the problem or you're the problem, or I'm going to make you the problem, or I'm going to make me the problem.
Right.
And so when I get in that right and wrong game up in my head, that's where I get destructive. But if I focus on results, if I just get focused on results, and I shift that result to what is working, what is not working, what is healthy, what is not healthy, now I can start to shift my perspective because I don't always have to be right. It's not about being right. It's a matter of, is this working or is this not working? Is this healthy or is this not healthy?
Right. I'm thinking about specifically what we worked on today in coaching. I was having a bit of a perspective struggle. Would another of those things, I guess it's working, not working, what we were talking about, but I think what I'm getting is like, what is it that I'm learning from this? And I think maybe through that angle, you can find that other perspective shift.
Right.
Right?
We can. What am I taking from this? And depending on how I take that, like if I'm taking that, what am I learning from this perspective? As long as I'm open, as long as I'm saying, what is... So, and it's kind of that scientific approach is that I'm really looking for the results rather than I am to prove myself right.
Right.
Does that make sense? So a lot of times we're out trying to prove that we're right. Well, great. You've gone through all of that evidence. You've gone through all of that work just to prove you're right, rather than going through all of the evidence, going through all the information to go, okay, well, what's there? What's the information? What am I learning?
I have my sister Allie's really good at that, by the way.
She's a champion.
I will have a situation and I'll just go into vent to her and she's like, oh, let me show you the other side. And I'm like, I don't want to see it. Like sometimes I just don't want to see it. I just want to feel like all like rooted in my principles or whatever it may be, right? Like I just need you to listen. I'm not trying to look at the other person's perspective or this other social issue's perspective. And but like I think some people do really have a natural gift with that.
They do. There are, and sometimes that can be very frustrating for relationships. But it is healthy. It is always healthy to be looking at other perspectives, because when we're creating that other perception or that other perspective, we are removing a lot of fear. And that's the part I really want to really, kind of hammer in, is that the more perception and the more I can increase my perception, the more I can increase my perspective, the less I'm afraid of the world, the less I'm afraid. And that's the part where I'm seeing the most relief that people get in the world is sitting down, talking through something, getting somebody else's opinion, getting somebody else's perspective, and it helps remove so much fear. And some people need more of that than others, but we've got to figure out, am I one of those people that need to have a go-to person that can sit down like you're talking about with your sister? They can sit down with you and you can say, hey, help me understand, or give me some perspective, or give me some insight. And then there are others that tend to be able to do it on their own.
Yeah, I love that. And I really love the part that you brought up, Dean, about how in the attempt to disseminate the fear, and open up to different perspectives and get different point of views and all those kinds of things, it doesn't negate or make you less than, right? It doesn't make you wrong or needy, or, I mean, we can go through a list of just kind of negative characteristics, right, that people would have put onto themselves, like, or unable to make a decision, like indecisive, or all these things. Like, I really think that that's a cool way to embrace it, and just to look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm having a really difficult time coming to a solution on my own, or I'm feeling this way. I maybe could try opening up and gaining a different perspective, if that's going to take talking to somebody else to get that, or Googling something different than just all the normal things that I go. Well, however it is that you want to figure that out, what works for you, then I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And that is it's important for us to be able to do that. It's very important for us to be able to do that. So the more that we do open up to those perceptions, and the more that we do open ourselves up to that perspective, the more that we are going to feel more grounded and more in control of our lives. Yeah,
because I feel like this is a truth too. And if you think I'm off base, then go ahead and tell me. He's not afraid to tell me when I'm off base. But just because someone has a different perspective doesn't necessarily mean that that's just the rest of the story, the end.
Right.
Right? Like just as it's played out in the media and stuff all the time, and I know you've experienced in your own relationships, but two people looking at the exact same thing are going to have two completely different experiences with it. So that's perspective.
Correct.
Absolutely. And so I guess I'm feeling like I need to say that just because we're suggesting that you open yourself up to other perspectives doesn't necessarily mean you have to adopt them 100% all the way and be like, oh, okay, well, that's 100% true for me now too. Because that's where all the other different coping skills, and especially that skill of discernment that we talk about, you know, where you align your head and your heart and you really discern if that's right for you. And then you can really get more motion and more movement in your perspective change.
Yeah, 100%. And that's very accurate. I think that is one of the things. There are those in the world that are a little bit over consulting. They consult way too much, and they don't trust their discernment. They don't trust what they know to be true, and they gather too much perception. They get out and they get too deep into the weeds, and you know, they start taking into all of the consideration of all these other things that really isn't solving anything either. And so there is that balance, like you said, is that just because somebody says or comments on it doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's a factual situation, but it does mean that it is a different view.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, you have to learn to trust your discernment, and you have to be able to take that. And that's the thing that I love, is the more that our minds can be open to truth. And that's the thing is, you know, Mahatma Gandhi's whole search in his whole life was based upon the pursuit of truth, the search for truth. And I love that Mahatma Gandhi did that. He dedicated his life to uncovering truth. And in doing so, in his process of unraveling that and really searching for the truth, it gave him the ability to be open to all opinions. And then what he would do is he would take all the opinions and all the information, and he would sort through it, and he would take the pieces to construct the truth, and then he would help people make the best decision on that. One of the masters of negotiation, Mahatma Gandhi, was one of the greatest negotiators. And and most people don't know that. They just look at him as the father of India, but he was the great negotiator. And it was because of his ability to open himself to all views. And I really value that as who he was. So we are running out of time.
Every week. Time flies when you're having fun.
So we want to thank you. I do want to put a big shout out to all of my Chicagoites.
Hey, Chicago!
Yes, just got home from Chicago on Saturday. Had a great time out there, and say hello to all of them out in Chicago. Big shout out to Brian and Monica and
oh, you
Anna.
Started naming names.
I know. I'm like going names.
Yikes.
I shouldn't stop. I should have stopped. You know, Andrew,
to all of you,
and all of you, Sylvia, everybody out there.
Even everyone in Chicago that Dean did not see. Shout out to you.
Shout out to you too. But anyway, stay warm. Oh, good grief, it was cold. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Please like and share our videos. make sure that you're talking about these topics around the table and at the water cooler, and really get the message out. So again, thank you. I want to say hello, Mike Slagle. He big shouted out us to us. So hello, Mike. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week on
Monday Night Live.
I'll Go High.
I'll Go Low.